Hello, and welcome to the next episode of Two Girls Talk Transits. Today we're reviewing the astrology from June 29th through July 5th, 2025. And we're your host. I'm Maddie.
And I'm Kaylee.
Welcome back. So we had a really busy last week, and we are much quieter this week. So we'll dive in. Is on the 30th of June, which is Monday. We are going to have Mercury entering into its shadow period in Leo. So it did move into Leo last week.
Mm-hmm.
And at 4 degrees is where we have a retrograde coming up finally. Like our first inner planet is retrograde.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this will be our Mercury retrograde in July, but start so basically all of July is just wherever that is, 4 through 15 degrees of Leo, you can expect that to be a place of review and revision. And this first past is like the shadow period where it's like things happen, and then when it retrogrades, you'll go back over these things, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So while it's in its shadow period, like things are definitely going to start slowing down. It slows down before it stations. So your mercurial ruled houses will definitely experience like a bit of a slower pace, I think. And in general, I think like we should be feeling um think like Mercury rules like movement and like kind of like our like mental activity. So I think we should while it's still in Leo and we will be feeling like a little bit fiery, I think it's just going to be like kind of a slow burn kind of thing than like an on fire situation. So yeah, I would definitely like expect more slowness during this time.
I do think I guess as I don't know if we talked about this when Mercury entered Leo last week. I don't think we did, but um, you know, Mercury ruling Mars right now, and then being in Leo, those two aren't like talking to each other. And
Mm-hmm.
Mercury being more heated in Leo is not able to aspect Mars, so it's not able to offer Mars any support. So Mars may start kind of going off the rules a bit or being a little bit more challenging, I think, just
Mm-hmm.
because Mars in Virgo is usually needs more structure to be more clear and disciplined and factual. And Mercury is kind of over here in Leo, look at me, look at me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like yeah, Mars's resources like out of touch. It's like not there. It's like you keep
Yeah.
paging the phone and they're like, "Sorry, the line is full." Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's on a stage
Yeah. Yeah.
performing art.
Yeah. Literally. Yeah, that'll be interesting though for Mars. I wonder if like it might feel like we have to move in a certain direction without having like the clear plans lined out, which is like you said going to be super frustrating for Mars and Virgo because they like Mars and Virgo needs like clear outlined like this is what we're going to do from A to Z. Um
Yeah.
but
We're
yeah.
moving blindly. We're moving blindly, and there's no and when you make moves blindly, like when you're walking through a fog, right? Like you're just taking action, you're just stepping, you're just walking, but you're
Mhm.
not actually adjusting your path. If just you suddenly hit a pitfall, you hit a pitfall and now you're stuck there. I think that will be the Mercury retrograde, be maybe we in the initial portion of it, we're taking all this action without really thinking about it, or just again acting a little bit irrationally, and then you have to kind of come back and account for it all.
Yeah, I think Mars and Virgo in general, almost the entire time is gonna feel like this because by the time like Mercury will station retrograde, right? And then Mars
Yeah.
will still be there. And I think by the time Mars transits out, Mercury might still be in Leo.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it will be. And then
yeah.
at the same time, the South Node's in Virgo. So
Mm-hmm.
that's this big confusion, dissolving energy of going down a toilet drain in a way of I don't know. I don't, at first I was happy with Mars in Virgo, but now I think it's kind of a rough place to be.
I know, like as we're actually talking about it more, I'm like, actually, this kind of explains some things."
Right? This is
Yeah.
like why everyone's acting so chaotically. They think they're acting on facts, but they don't actually know the facts that they're acting on. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so yeah, definitely like this Mercury is speaking to like the challenges that we're having with Mars and Virgo and probably will persist to see until Mars enters Leo, which is or Leo, I mean Libra, which is in its detriment, so that's not good either, but
yeah, it's not gonna be great. It'll be opposite Saturn
yeah.
there. Yeah, yeah. We're
Mars
doing
is just
great.
annoying these days. Actually, as always for me, but in general.
We'll have, it will be in Scorpio in like September. We can late September because
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
it's in my solar return chart in Scorpio, so I know it gets there eventually.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, all of like us like spring birthdays had Mars and Cancer, and that's for our solar
Yeah, my
returns.
last solar return had Mars and Cancer.
Yeah, like dang it,
I
really?
know,
Yeah, well,
but
anyways, so we don't have many aspects after that for the following like 4 days. On the 4th of July, happy Independence Day.
ugh,
Hope you're feeling
patriotic.
patriotic, yeah. Sorry, I have to skip ahead. Okay,
No,
let's
I'm not
see.
feeling patriotic. Yeah, I mean we can talk. Yeah, all
Let me
about that.
see. I'm gonna try to like move it ahead a little bit so it or move it behind a little bit so it's like exactly conjunct.
Yeah, because a lot of
There we go.
activity is
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah, because Venus will actually move over into Gemini later that
Hmm.
day. So yeah, we got Venus in Taurus, conjunct that Uranus in Taurus. This is like some really, really final conversations with that Uranus in Taurus. And final conversations with like what Venus has been doing in your Taurus ruled house. But there's definitely an opportunity here for like some change in your desires or your beliefs or things you find beautiful or even like comforting materialistically. I wouldn't even be surprised if just as much as like has been happening politically, if there is like a larger assessment of like materialistic comforts, and kind of what is really necessary versus like what's not necessary. Um, so yeah, that's kind of that. Anything you want to add, Maddie?
Yeah, no, I think a big part of that, like, I mean, on the larger scale, collectively, in the larger sense of everything that's going on, like Venus conjuncting Uranus can often be like disruptions to food supply or
Mm,
disruptions to like trade or just like, the movement. I mean, Mercury does rule more of like trade and commerce, but I think Venus is often like the food or like the nourishment and also the ease about which we go to procure things or like have things. And Uranus has really changed a lot of like our food and our environment. And I mean, as we've seen before, Uranus and Taurus does bring a lot of crazy weather and like disruptions to the natural environment. So like,
mm-hmm.
yeah, like we're in a heat wave right now as we're recording this. Like, does that impact the harvest, or like
I'm
some of
sure.
the exchanges of food? Like, is there some sort of result that
Mm-hmm.
comes up that like changes everything in terms of like just stability and comfort on that larger collective scale, at least?
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good point. Venus also can be like representational of women, and I think like I've just been noticing because I'm on like, your algorithm kind of feeds you stuff, but I've noticed like women kind of changing their perception of things, just like I don't even
Right.
know how to put my finger on it, but maybe like they're changing their perception of like working in the workforce and what it maybe means to be like a trad wife versus like somebody that might stay at home and like take care of children or something. But nonetheless, I think like women are starting to like reform their beliefs and ideas. And, meeting Uranus here, there can be this like big shift collectively over like which direction women want to go. Because, we do like women do get shaped and any gender but gets shaped by society and will change their beliefs based off of like societal patterns and what's happening. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's like, I don't know, you're saying women are being given more of a voice or maybe given more of like, we're more heard in terms of like our ability to speak out about certain things. And so that can kind of disrupt or shape the direction of certain plans or like economy and things of larger things of that scale. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
like what is a societal value for women changing? Yeah, that could be a big conversation.
Yeah, I'd definitely be interested to see it. I think too, like, it could kind of go like maybe it's not like a huge news story, but it's like some kind of one of those changes that like happen over time that go like kind of under the radar, but still is definitely like really happening, you know?
Well, I don't think it's even under the radar because like the whole attack on Iran, that was the whole like, drama with Mars squaring Uranus and then the sun squaring Saturn, all of that we talked about
Hmm.
last week, Jupiter squaring Saturn. But I did notice like consistently on the people that were for the attack saying that it was good was that, oh, well, it liberated women. It was like putting these like with Venus being in Taurus right now, like kind of putting women as like, oh, but we're saving women from the Iranian, you know,
Yeah.
oppression or whatever. None of that is like some of it is true, but then also women have been dealing with oppression issues in our own country. So why are we saying that we're liberating them? Like
Yeah.
it's just interesting that that's suddenly becoming this agreed upon reason. And
Mhm.
like Venus is in this place of domicile. So
They're trying to get the feminists on board. Like,
yeah, they are.
yeah.
They're like trying to get us to agree with it. Like, bro, you already took away our right. Our rights are being removed in this country. So what makes you think that I just can't get behind that. I'm so confused by that argument, but it explained by the astrology.
Right, right. Yeah, I'm confused by a lot of things that go on. So I can't find like, oh, that's why that happened. No, I don't know.
No, like not
Yeah.
even at all. And then
Hmm.
like, but like that was like, well, they have women don't have rights. Like I've seen it like 3 or 4 times, like on talk show hosts. They're like, well, women don't have any values. Are like, man, women are fighting for their values here. And
Hmm.
like, it's just interesting that like that's suddenly the big thing that we're saving. And I don't know. I wonder though if you're to your whole point though, big women's rights conversations comes up
Yeah,
around
I
this
could definitely see
aspect.
that. But I can also see like with Venus and Taurus, like why that even came up at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, and I don't know, but personally, on your own chart, you just want to look at Taurus, you want to look at that sign as a whole and, just think about how has it changed and what is changing there and what is shifting in that space for you. And this may be that kind of last little shockwave of change, or just sudden shift in what you value and what is important for you to nurture in terms of like creating or like cultivating something.
Hmm. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, and then later like Venus will pop over to Gemini and we'll have like even later like a couple hours after this
yeah,
and we'll experience like a totally, new Venetian climate because I think Venus in Gemini is going to feel very different from Venus in Taurus. Um,
yeah. Well, now Mercury's rolling something again, another planet again. And then, yeah, Venus enters Gemini later on the 4th, like right after this, because they're so close at 29. And
mhm.
then Venus also starts applying to a square with Mars.
No.
Yeah, we didn't consider that, but I know that's not this week, but I do think they're both, this was kind of active.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like Venus and Mars both being ruled by Mercury, and now they're kind of
Yeah, there's like a
squaring.
big conversation going on between like
Right,
those three planets. Yeah.
right.
Hmm. Very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was just gonna say, on the whole, though, Venus and Gemini will be more socializing. I mean, I noticed that's a very social sort of like placement, I think, and it's just gonna be much more talkative and expressive, I think.
Yeah, I totally
Yeah.
agree. Like Venus and Taurus is more like, earthly comforts, relaxing. It can definitely be like social events, but it'll be like Venus and Taurus would be like more like social events because like you want to show off your outfit or your house or your
Or eat a really nice, expensive restaurant
yeah.
meal. Yeah,
Yeah, where Venus and like Gemini would be like socializing for socializing's purpose. Like let's just get
right,
together and like enjoy each other's company and it doesn't need to be like a black tie event, you know? Like we can
right.
just like enjoy being around each other. So I think that will be nice, especially if you're like not a super materialistic person. You might kind of feel like the pressure taken off of that realm, which is nice.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. And it opens up just more variety in terms of your life and your values. Um, the side note though, off a little off topic, but not really, but I was thinking about how we were just talking about like women being in the news as part of the reason of like all the attacks and everything. But now, like with Venus and Mars in the same sign ruled by Mercury, which is like a they them, and
Oh,
then
yeah. That's
and
interesting. Yeah.
and then they're in a square, like Venus in a square, I could see like this real big discourse between men and women and
Yeah,
like
there's a lot of tension there.
non-binaries. Yeah.
I mean, I can see it just in general, like even in like the dating world, like I think like men and women are kind of at odds with each other. I think like, women want this one thing and men want another thing, and I think that, there's a real like values misalignment there, which is causing a lot of people to actually stay like separated from each other.
Yeah.
And I think that can really speak to that tension point that you're talking about between like Venus and Mars. I was talking to my friend today who's like really struggling to find relationships. And I was like, I honestly cannot name, like, I can literally name off the top of my head one person who is happy with their relationship right now.
Right.
Like, I really either they're not partnered or they're in a relationship and not happy. And that just might be like my,
Right. Your sphere of influence.
yeah.
But yeah.
But still, I mean, I do think that it's just speaking to that like larger topic of like there is a kind of disharmonious energy.
Well, it's like a conflict between the ideals of each of the intersectionalities, right? Like because they're both in Mercury ruled sign, which are the ideas or like kind of the information, right? And then it's like both of them are receiving different information or both of them have a
Mm.
different opinion about something and they're at odds with one another.
Yeah, and then Mercury and Leo comes in to say, I'm right. No, I'm right.
Yeah,
And
you're right.
it's like both are on these ego trips and neither is
Yeah.
able to like compromise. Like both want 100% of their needs met.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, I will say, I mean, Venus has the upper hand on the sense that she has a sextile to Mercury, so maybe she has better information, which women are right. So,
And also the transgender people also have
yeah, yeah, the
the little
non-binaries
bonus.
and
Yeah.
trans, they just automatically win because they're in Leo. So.
Yeah, I mean, I actually was thinking the other day, like I wanted to make an Instagram post, but I was thinking if you are part of like the LGBTQ community,
Mm.
like you are automatically um like more open-minded. Like you
Right,
automatically have this like conditioning that you dropped. Like you're like, I'm not gonna accept like the conditioning of like I'm supposed to be with this person or I'm supposed to look like that or supposed to look like this. You've automatically like shed all those layers and become like, wiser for it, I think. So I think I was just like that. I think that's pretty cool because, not to diss heterosexual people or anything, like that's totally
right.
fine too if that's your jam, but people who haven't like tried it just for the sake of like I don't know, not trying it, I think like because of societal conditioning, let's say,
Yeah.
um it just kind of like limits you. But, it's a whole big discussion because it also can be for like religious beliefs and such. But yeah, that was
No,
just
no,
an
I
aside.
agree. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, there is this like element of like pushing against the preconceived boundary and belief and like breaking free from it and realizing that it wasn't even real to begin with. But
Yeah, yeah, I know. Yeah, it's pretty cool. There's this one creator that I love listening to, but I don't know his name, but he's non-binary and he speaks a lot. I'm sure you've probably seen him on Instagram. He has like a lot of talks. I think he's like I don't even want to say, but I think he's like Indian or something.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't know if I followed him on there. I don't really like to scroll on Instagram, so.
Oh, yeah, I'm a bad scroller, but I know I'm like every time I'm talking to you, like I saw this on Instagram. I saw that because I'm always like always when I'm driving, I'm like looking through Instagram.
You
Yeah.
shouldn't say that on a podcast.
I'm not, it's safe. Like I'm listening to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just
I'm not looking 100%. I think I would have crashed the car at this point.
Okay,
Like,
but what was your whole point with him?
oh, he's yeah, he's non-binary and he speaks to like
Mm,
all these conditioning things that we
mm,
have and he's always like, he's dressed, he has like a dress on and like jewelry and stuff and he's like the reason that you don't like me is because I challenge what you think is like societally normal and I challenge those like parts in you that you don't believe are lovable if you would look like this because of the conditioning
right.
that you got and just the conversations that he has is really good. I'm like, dang, he's like there's a reason he's famous because he just speaks so
Yeah, is
so
able to
eloquently.
clearly articulate his point and like
Mhm.
really move people with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I value a lot of that, for sure. I don't like
Hmm.
to follow rules ever.
Yeah, I know. Me neither.
So,
Yeah.
well, uh,
Oh,
okay.
next one.
Yeah,
Yep. Neptune stations retrograde. That also is happening on the same day.
it is.
Let's bump it a couple
I think it's late
hours
in the eve. Yeah, right there.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Neptune retrograde. So, Maddie, how long does this happen for 6 months also?
Yeah, it's like a whole 6 month
Yeah.
cycle that we're now beginning. Pluto has been retrograde for a little bit, but now we have our next outer planet that's joining. And unfortunately, they never go quite exact, but they get like 13 minutes within each other because now Neptune's moving closer to Saturn.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but I mean, the Neptunian planet, the significations of Neptune are going to be really heightened today, which is ironic considering it's Independence Day in the United States. So it's
That's
like delude
interesting.
yourself into thinking we're the best country. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, people probably will for the day's sake. It's super interesting that it's happening in Aries, but
Right.
yeah, like Aries is like really representational of like independence. It might be too like coming up with those like conflictual feelings of like, am I proud to be an American? Like,
Right.
it's like independence something I should really be supporting at this point and um especially because like independence was built off of like a lot of
Off of slavery.
yeah, yeah, a lot of not great stuff. So, I think a lot of us might be feeling like, should I celebrate or should I just shut up? But
Or
yeah.
maybe it will be a protest. Yeah, I don't know.
Mm,
I could see that. Like, the Aries is always the real extreme opinions of things, right? So like I could see like the real extreme patriotic people being like, you have to celebrate and stand up to America, blah, 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 and really strengthening that belief. And then the people who are against everything that's going on are like, no, we have to rebel, we have to protest because again, it's really bad, like
mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm interested. Definitely interested to see what happens. But nonetheless, I mean, this is a whole like 6 month period where we're gonna kind of be like reviewing those Neptunian themes. Since it's like over such a long period of time. We will like experience different aspects to it and stuff, which will like make it louder at times and, bring it like more into focus. But I think as like a general whole, we're definitely like reviewing or putting a lens on like what are the things that are truth versus like what's illusion. Um, do I really understand what this means or do I not understand it? Yeah, just like a lot of conversations about, what's real and what's not.
right, yeah, and it's just like, we're fighting for certain beliefs, so like maybe evaluating, is this worth fighting for
That's a good
this,
one, yeah.
right? Because that's what we are doing right now, literally in the moment, is that we believe that we're right, so we're fighting for it.
Yeah, and I think it too, it's like speaks to those like the confusion that's coming around the war stuff. Like,
Mm.
there's a lot of confusion with like what does this war mean for us? Or, what's going to happen, projected in the future because we are taking certain like actions that
Hmm.
are very like warlike. So, yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah, I think that will be a real big, interesting conflict and discussion. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think it will be both because Saturn, is involved
Right.
as so like there will be that sort of bigger heightening of like your beliefs. Hopefully, people are flexible enough to review them, but I don't think that will happen until Neptune comes back to Pisces.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. Yeah. I think Neptune and Pisces have a way of like mending and molding and shifting people's beliefs, but it did
Yeah.
become very woke. But
Yeah, it was very woke, but I mean, it brought back also like, it brought back putting empathy into everyone's priority, and it brought back even like occult things and things that were more taboo to talk about, like divination and all
yeah,
that,
that's true. Yeah, which is really good also. Yeah.
Right. So that was very Neptune and Pisces. Neptune and Aries does seem very much like I'm it and I'm right and I don't care.
Yeah, that no, that is. And I think it's so funny because that's so like Donald Trump at the moment. Like,
Yeah, it is.
yeah, it's literally like, I don't care who this is offending, I'm gonna say it. Like, yeah, so
Um,
I think that's very much like my beliefs are, it regardless.
well, stay safe this 4th of July, whatever you choose to do, whatever
Yes.
side you're fighting for here. Definitely just be careful.
But it will be a social time, so
Yeah, I will. Venus and Gemini, that will be good.
yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
just get through the chaos. Well, we'll wrap up this week then on Saturday, the 5th, the day after. It's just our one aspect for this week is Venus and Gemini will sextile Saturn and Aries. Softer energy. Somehow I do think it's like linked to the Neptune stationing retrograde
Mm-hmm.
just because Neptune again is so close to it,
Mm-hmm.
and Venus will actually sextile Neptune the next day. So it's almost like maybe you're organizing, like I don't know, it seems like an organizing, like rallying a group or rallying a community, or just like sharing more ideas about the structures and your beliefs and like maybe planning. It could be good for planning.
Yeah, yeah. I find it interesting that Venus is having like these conversations with the outer planets, like,
Yeah.
conversation with Uranus, and then we have like this small conversation with Saturn. It could be like conversation with Uranus, like, oh, we have this big change, or we want to implement this big change. And then with Saturn, it's like, okay, Saturn, like, tell us what to do now, or like, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, like, let's plan it out a little bit.
Yeah, let's actually get some structure onto these ideas and changes in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean it's a soft aspect, but I mean it's probably good for like making certain commitments in terms of like new ideas or new values or new beliefs. If like, just looking at a smaller scale, if Venus conjuncting Uranus did disrupt a personal belief or value for you, the sextile to Saturn can help you like just ground down into what's new or what is now like your new truth or your new value
Yeah.
into.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Yeah. I think that'd be,
Yeah.
yeah. For anybody like whose Venus rules like your relationships, it could also be a good time to like stabilize your friendships or stabilize
Mm,
romantic relationships where like a bit of like commitment is being offered there.
yeah, like recommit to it or
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, rally up community. I mean, that is going to be like, just speaking more generally, like in terms of as we go through more disrupting times for our country, which we will continue to do with our Uranus return. Community is going to be your main asset. It's going to be your main resource. So like
I agree. Yeah.
taking this textile to Saturn to be like, what is my community? Who has resources where? Who has this where? And like just like maybe making you can even make like a literal list and be like, who can I call on for this? Or who can I call on for that? You know?
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, like, especially with Uranus going to be popping over into Gemini, like, there's going to be some really big conversations, I think, with our communities. And
Right.
a lot of restructuring about around what our communities look like. And I think it's like a really good thing, actually. Like, I'm not sure if it will, like, when the picture is being painted, I'm not sure if it's going to be like a
It's
beautiful
not going to
thing.
be smooth at
Yeah.
all. Yeah.
Yeah. But I do think, like, at the end of the day, we do need like major restructuring when it comes to communities. So essentially, in the end, I think it will be good. But I do think that this is a good, like, base conversation with, like, about
Mhm.
communities and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
maybe that can be like a good practical thing for you to like work on or focus, take with Venus sextiling Saturn. It's just like, can you like solidify your community a little bit more
Right.
in a
Yeah.
way that it feels naturally supportive to you? So,
Yeah. Yeah. I hope when I like when I reach I always think like what's going to happen when I reach my like zodiacal releasing period in my 40s, and I'm hoping that I'm like creating like a community village.
I'm
So,
down.
yeah. Catch me then maybe. Well, that's not that long, honestly. It's only like
No.
10 years. 9 8
Yeah.
years. Yeah.
Yeah. And 8 years ago, I would never expect 8 years to go by that quickly.
Exactly. So, hopefully
You better
that
get serious about it
I
then.
know, I was gonna say hopefully that was encouraging. Not like the time's gonna pass you fast. You better get to it. Yeah.
You better get on it. Use this
Mhm.
little Venus Saturn to like actually start planning.
Yeah, that would be cool. No, it's definitely like a big dream. So we'll see.
Yeah, if you want to join our commune, that's totally not a cult. Let us know.
Wink, wink. Yeah.
Oh, we got it all planned out. We'll figure it out. All right.
Mhm. I think that's it then for this week.
It is.
Yeah, nothing too crazy, but definitely some
Mhm.
conversations have happening. So, I'm sure as the week progresses, it'll, start to get clearer. But other than that, follow us on our TikTok and our Instagram. And I think that's it. Anything else, Maddie?
Well, we will see you all next week for
See
Uranus and Gemini.
you. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.